Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I thought I'd try and do an update on the all the orchids that came out of the big box from Beatrix. She seems to have settled back at home, which is in the Far East, and now has orchids growing outside in the garden, which must be wonderful. Anyway, I might not be able to find them all because they are dotted around, to say the least, but I'll see what I can do. As I say, there's mounted ones, there's pots, there's things on different shelves. Most of the small pots are up here, so if I get this monster out of the way for a minute, and we should be able to have a quick look at these. Ooh, if I can sort them out, because some of these are actually mine. Right, oh, well, let's get at that one first. That was mounted, and that is Dendrobium tetragonum. And there are signs of life on this. Some little greenery coming out near the bottom. Whether that's new growths or new roots, I'll take either. And it does have one new growth up the back that is actually pushing on. So leaves look good on that. Small plant, I don't know whether that's supposed to get much bigger than that, but it's doing okay. I mean, the leaves look good. It has got some viable roots in under the moss there, and there's at least one new growth pushing on and something going on at the base, little green tips showing. So as I say, that could be new growths, could be roots. We'll wait and see. That's that one. Some of these are at the back. I think that one, oh, that's mine. As I said, they're all in amongst other things. That's the problem. And that one's mine, and that really is not doing well at all. That's Nora Tokunaga. I might soon have to say it was Nora Tokunaga. The latest growth on that dropped its leaves in the winter time. There is a single new root on that, but that is not a happy bunny. Right, what else we got? That's mine. Oh, that's coming on well. New roots. Will not stand up. I think that pot's fallen over more times than all the others put together. Easy answer is it could do with repotting anyway, and now looks like a pretty good time to deal with that, so I'll get on with that. We'll stand it upright again. These are both Kingianums, whether they're the true species or one of the many hybrids that masquerade, I don't know. I don't see any new growth on that one, but leaves are good, so it's okay as a plant. And this is also a Kingianum here, and that again, the leaves look good. That's in very chunky bark, actually. That could do. Being a young plant, with young plants, the roots tend to need more around them than a mature plant would. So what would be a recommended media for an adult plant is not necessarily the best thing to plant a seedling in. Seedlings like to stay moist a bit more and much smaller medium. So what I might do with those two is take them both out, repot them and put them in a single pot with some smaller media so that their roots can get going a bit. That's that. And this is Nora Tokunaga. This is what it's supposed to look like. Come on, you, buck up. This is a nice little plant. I can't remember whether I actually repotted that or not. Can't remember. Possibly. But that one's looking good. It's got nice healthy leaves on it. There's no signs of new growths at the base yet, but you know, give it time. It's had quite an upset. Let's get that one out of the way because there's one at the back here as well. Oh, well, this one definitely looks... Well, actually, it's quite easy to tell whether I've repotted something or not because the chances are it would have one of my tags in it, but not necessarily. This is Macrophyllum, and it's looking okay. It's not growing at the moment. There's no things just love making me out a liar. If you look at the base of that left hand, this is two plants in this pot. That left hand section there has got a lot of bright green around the base, so we've either got active roots coming out or we may have some roots and a growth. We'll wait and see, but the larger plant, I don't see anything coming out of the base yet. But it's a nice healthy plants, sorry, there's two in there. It's got good leaves on it, so that should pull on given time. It's coming on. Let's get these back out the way. And as I go round with this video, if Beatrix actually gets to watch it, I've done it again, haven't I? Having been told what these plants are, probably more than once, I keep forgetting to put tags in them. So there's still a few that I am uncertain of their ID. Now I could do a process of elimination and go back to the original video, but that would take ages, so that's not going to happen. That's a couple of my kikis. It's actually, where's the plant gone? It's this plant here, which is Dendrobium moniliform, but it's a variegated version of it. And this was some kikis I took off last year that are not exactly doing brilliantly. They're not dead yet. Not exactly living. Oh, that's my rhodostictum, that's not. There's this little one here that I've lost track of what this is. So, an unknown. That's been sitting there doing absolutely nothing, but there's at least one little new root coming. So hopefully with some roots pushing on, that should pick up a bit, whatever it is. And I won't move that because it will promptly fall over, but this is my Stardust Firebird. And this is Stardust Firebird as well. Easily recognised because it's in a cup. This has got some things growing out of this cane. Now that could be spikes, but no, in this plant it's flipping kikis. But some good strong new growths coming up on that one, so that one's doing okay. Right. I'll put the monster back up there in a minute. No, I won't. I'll do it now, because if I don't do it now, I will end up kicking it and it'll fall over. And then you'll hear some swear words. Let's get this monster back up. It's only up here. It shouldn't be up here. It should be down in the cool, but it's up here so that I can see the pretty blooms on it. And they are gorgeous. That's Coleogyne moriana. Right, there's a couple of big box ones up here. And I think I've mislaid the tags on these as well. Now this is a strange one because this was two little plants. One long skinny cane with a strange profile. It's sort of flat, but that's how it's supposed to be. And then one smaller but more normal looking cane, but you can see they're very flat in profile. There's no new roots or growths coming out of the base of this, but both parts of the plant are pushing out kikis. This is yet one of the few plants that when I water this, yes, I water the mount, but I also pour water over the cane. Because these little kikis are pushing some roots now, and that makes sure that they get some moisture on them as well. So I mean, that one's alive, it's growing, but nothing from the base yet. Maybe soon. I'll put these back in a minute. This was one I was quite worried about. This one had a lot of cold damage on it, no tag on this one as well. This one is coming back into life now. There's a lot of root activity going on at the base, so this one's fine, despite the damage, the cold damage to the ends of the canes, which won't recover, so those canes won't grow anymore. But yeah, I mean that's well and truly alive and pushing out what is now a good root system, and that should be followed by some new growths. Don't see why not. I think that growth in the centre of the plant there is relatively new, and the end of it looks like it might still be growing, and this one here is growing, so that didn't get damaged bad enough to stop its tip growing. Most of the rest of the canes are not actively growing now, but nonetheless it's a deciduous type, so the leaves are doomed to drop at some point, you know, so that's not a big deal. But yeah, that's seriously coming back into life, that one. There's a lot of good root growth coming out. So that one's on the mend, whatever it is. I think I've got these identified in my notes. It's just I haven't had a tag session lately. You know, every now and again I go round and look for plants with no tags on and deal with it, but it's just it's one of those things that's on the round to it list. It's just a matter of getting round to it. Right, we've got a few little ones up here that were mounted. So obviously I've done these. This is Cattleya Little Lemon Drops crossed with Encyclia Vetulina. This one's well on the mend. Good active root growth now. That'll get down. They're already starting to attach to the bark, so that's progressing, and the new growth at the back there is okay. Yeah. So I mean, although that's a young plant, you know, that's pushing on, and once that root system gets established a bit better, there should be some more new growth pushing on that one. So pleased with that one. That one's coming on nicely. More coffee. And what is this one? Oh my god. Well, this is a Cattleya with the cross identified, which was obviously then named Pintada rosada, and then that's been crossed with Leopoldii. Oh god, I can't read that. Escura, again Pintata. So yeah, a relatively complex cross, but again, in the last couple of weeks, that's started growing roots. There is actually two plants on there. That very, very left-hand bulb is a single bulb on its own that didn't have roots, but I thought, well, if I mount it and it grows roots, it can join in with the other part of the plant, and if it doesn't, I can just pull it off if it doesn't make it. But yeah, we've got some root growth on one part of the plant anyway, so again, you know, it'll pick up, sorry, not pack up. We don't want it packing up, we want it to pick up. More coffee, nurse. Right, another little one up here as well. This is Cattleya Mary Chen crossed with Cattleya duvenii. And what's this thing doing? Not a lot. Right, I do see signs of new roots in there. This one had a few quite viable roots on it, so enough to keep it going till it started growing some new ones. There are just some signs of some new roots starting. That's its only new growth at the back there, and that has pushed on a little bit since it was mounted, so that'll be using up some energy, and it's got another new growth at the top there that's pushing on, and that's got a new root at the base as well. So yeah, I mean, all of those are young plants to bring on basically, and from my point of view, as I've always said, I've got hanging space, I haven't got pot space, so by getting them on mounts, the fact that they're Cattleyas, they'll like the mount anyway, and hopefully they'll pull on because they're up in the bright light where it's warm, so that should do them the world of good. Now, where do I need to go next? Next. So I'm scanning around thinking where I put all these plants. I'm going to miss some, I know I am, because they're all over the place. We did that one up the back there. Oh, there's oh, I'm not digging in there and getting that down. The one right at the back there, at the top, I'd like to get the camera close enough to show you the base of the plant, because it is quite spectacular. Let's see if I can get the camera to focus. You see all those new growths? Absolutely stacks of new growths pushing out at the base of that plant. I'm over the moon. Boy, is that thing picking up at a rate of knots. So all of those new growths are going to push on with any luck, and like most of the deciduous long cane dendrobiums, the roots will form a new root system as the new growths progress, and there's a shed load of them. Well pleased with that. That is a monster of a plant, and it's got spikes coming out down the bottom of the canes, and I say spikes because there's a lot of them. They look like that at the moment. Yeah, so they're pushing on many of the canes down near the base of some of them, so that's going to bloom down the line, and so that back cane up near the window there's got a lot of spikes on it, so that's going to bloom down the line, shed load of new growths on top of what is a massive plant already. So I'd say that one's doing rather well. It's taken. It's the expression I like to use. You know, some plants take a while to take a hold after disturbance, travel, packing, knocking about, possibly taken out of a pot and going on a mount. They just take a while to settle down and get going again. But you can usually tell quite easily once they have got going. Ugh. There's a couple up here, one of which I am In fact, both of these I'm a trifle worried about, but this one's recovered. This had no sign of life on it, so I'm desperately trying to not kick things and knock things over. Should have been a ballerina. Yes, this one I was very worried about because it had no signs of life apart from this, and that is going to be a kiki. There's another nodule there. I mean, there are signs of life on this cane, but that's all I had for a while. But now it's done that, so it's now got a nice strong new growth coming on, which hasn't started producing roots yet, but it will soon. And that's Dendrobium aphyllum. Oh, I'm talking nonsense. That's the one that came from Alberto. It's because it's next to one that I wanted to get down. Let's get the one I meant to get down. There's too many downs around here. This is the one. And this one I am worried about. Yeah, sorry about that. That's Alberto's one that he sent me. Oh, by the way, Alberto, I sent him a large Berrioda a while back. I think he won it might have been my 1,000 subscribers draw, something like that. But anyway, I sent him a Berrioda. He's just done a video. It's in full bloom at the moment, so that's got over its transportation, because there was a problem with that orchid. I think Alberto lives in two places, basically. He lives in one place, but he works somewhere else, or he certainly was last year, and we weren't sure how long it was going to take to work out which address was the best one to send it to, and I think it ended up going to the address he wasn't at, so it ended up staying in its box a hell of a long time. Anyway, back to the big box full. This plant has no signs of life, some serious cold damage, lost most of its leaves, but there's two nodules growing. So there is some life in the cane, but no signs of life at the base yet. I haven't got a tag on that one either. I must get these tags sorted out. So there's another one lurking somewhere. I think it's a dendrochilum or something, but that's going to be buried in amongst that lot somewhere. And I haven't long watered it, and there's no sign of life on it yet. So there's not much. Oh, and there's this little one as well, this little Psychopsis. I think it's a Psychopsis anyway. Yes, Psychopsis. Not doing very well at all. Quite honestly, that looks exactly like it did when it arrived. It hasn't shown any growth. I mean, I know there are some roots down in there. They don't look very busy roots, but they're there. You know, it's got roots on it. But there's certainly no signs of life at the top of the plant yet. But then it hasn't deteriorated either. I mean, its new growth on there isn't very good. It's quite limp. Now, it may have had to produce that when it didn't have many roots, but there's no sign of new growth or anything on that little one yet. Very young plant, that, and I don't think that's going to attempt to even think about growing a spike until it's got at least one more fully grown and developed bulb, which there are no signs of yet. Now there's another one somewhere. Where is he? Down here. Oh, come on, where is it? There it is. It's hiding amongst the pinguiculars, which are growing incredibly well. That one's got a bloom coming on it soon. And that one's called Cherry Blossom, so that should be red. Although it could still be pink. It could even be white. Cherry Blossom comes in all colours. That one has really spurted on since I got it. And that one's looking good as well. Those three I got from a carnivorous plant nursery towards the end of last year. The others I've had a while. This is what I was trying to get out. This is a Zygonicea. So it's a Zygopetalum hybrid. And we have something growing at the base. That's its first change. And I've only just noticed that. But right at the base of the plant there's either, well, it's going to be a new growth. It better not be a spike, not on a plant that small. But again, that plant hasn't deteriorated since I got it. It's stayed as it was, but it hasn't moved either. So yeah, that's hopefully that's a new growth, and with that down the line, because certainly my other zygos, they don't push out their roots straight away. The bulbs get going a bit first. But down the line should be some active root growth, and then I can think about possibly repotting that. It wouldn't be an urgent repot, but yeah, it's still growing. That's the main thing. Let's get my fly catchers back round where they go. They do the job. I mean, that's fungus gnats. The most annoying insects you can have around your plant, because wherever they are, they seem to be in your face. And they're ever so difficult to swat, because they weigh nothing. So as you swipe at them with your hand, the airflow in front of your hand pushes them out of the way, and they live, little tykes. And if you try catching them by clapping your hands, the same thing happens. You blast them out from between your hands before you actually get the little tykes. But that's what these plants are here for. Apart from the pretty blooms, of course, they do have pretty blooms. But yeah, I've got a few of those dotted around, and they do the job. I mean, if you look at just physically how many flies are on that plant, and especially that one's working really well. If these weren't there, those flies would be in my face and not dead. There's another one up here as well that seems to be doing quite a good job. So these, if you can grow these, they're well worth having around if those little flies annoy you, as they certainly annoy me. They really get on my nerves when I'm trying to work in the greenhouse. And worst of all, because the door's open, they actually get in the house as well, and I'm often working on the computer, and there's one like between my face and the computer screen. And sometimes it can take half an hour before I get the little blighter and swat it. Reminds me, I've got to clean my computer screen because several of them have been swatted on the screen. I know that's messy, but so I'm hovering here because we haven't really had a good look at the anosmum since it opened. We've had a good look at Nesta, but the anosmum's got some fully open blooms on it now. So you can see the depth of the purple in the lip now. Very funnel-shaped lip on this particular one, and a nice shade of pink. Say they are incredibly variable anosmums, from almost white through to the deepest purple like Nesta. Well, I was hoping I didn't get one like that, because then I'd have two roughly the same. So that's a nice bit of difference between the two. Yeah. So I'm happy that Nesta's got the deep colour and my version of anosmum has got a mid-pink colour. But fragrance on the anosmum not that strong at the moment. But the fragrance on Nesta is quite powerful, and it smells of raspberries, which is an unusual fragrance. You know, there's quite a few have got lemony and citrusy and stuff like that, but raspberries, I mean, that's all I want now is the strawberry one. This is looking good while we're up here as well. Somebody actually said that they couldn't see what all the fuss was about with Ivanagara apple blossom. They couldn't see why everybody was so, you know, taken with this particular Cattleya type, and then they saw one for real, and that's when it gets you. It's when you can see it for real. Cameras don't do it justice, but when you see it for real and you can get your nose in there and smell that fragrance, then most people are just taken by it and must have one. I've had several people chasing me this year. Can I have a bit of your apple blossom? Well, not at the moment, because I haven't got enough of it to split, but come back in about 5 years' time, you know. That's where we are with that. And there was one other thing I wanted to add in here. What is it? It's behind me. Come on, concentrate. The Tolumnia, the Black Magic, has opened, and most of the blooms are a trifle distorted on this. Just trying to find a clean one. Yeah, this one's okay. This one at the front, that's proper shape. That one's got a distorted lip. That one's gone all over the place. This one's got sepals missing and a petal that's deformed. This one's not too bad, but yeah, not a happy blooming. Oh, that one's quite good as well. That one's not too bad, but it's a lovely deep colour. And again, I doubt if the camera's doing that justice. It's the lip is a deep velvety red with a fringe round, and it's a split lip as well. Yeah, it's got like two wings to it. Nice bright yellow in the middle. And then the top part of the plant is an even deeper red with pale edges. So it's a pretty bloom. As I said, a little distorted, but this plant was in a really bad way until quite recently, when it's just started doing some roots. And hopefully soon a new fan will arise as well and get even more roots going. So it's only just managed to recover itself. It was in a bad way, that one. There's a video a while back, if you're interested, where I had a go at my Tolumnias. Some of them went straight out under the hedge. Some of them I've attempted to rescue, and some of them weren't doing too bad. The good ones are sort of still here. I mean, that's a nice plant, nice strong plant. That one's not too bad. That's my only Tolumnia species, and that's got a spike growing on it. Eventually this plant will have to get, oh, it's actually got a second spike. Just noticed a second spike. Jolly good. These spikes get about 2 foot long, and once they get their buds it will arch, but until then it's heading up towards the roof. So gradually this plant's moving down, lower and lower and lower, and soon I'm going to be on hanging loose. But every time I try and get that down, I have to be very, very careful that I don't damage the tip of that spike, because it hasn't even formed its buds yet. They're pretty little yellow flowers. It hasn't flowered for... Last time it was in flower was at Malvern 2 years ago. So, you know, this plant has recovered nicely. And as I say, we've got 2 spikes on it now that are good. So, yeah, I don't think there was anything else to show you. There are things not long for this world. I mean, this one's going now. I have to take that spike off soon. There's some other nubbins on that plant that look like they might push on, so it may flower again this year. But, you know, that's its second spike. They don't last long, so that one's going. The Lodigessii is on its way out now, but I'm pleased that it even bloomed. This one's on its way now. Well over half the blooms have gone. There's a few more spikes to trim off that have gone. So, but again, it put on a good show. So I'm pleased that it actually bloomed, and Lodigessii bloomed for the first time. So again, I'm pleased. This one's just starting to go as well. There's a lot of it about. Nothing lasts forever, but this one has lasted a lot longer than I expected. So I'm very well pleased with its blooming. And it's going mad on the Kiki front up there now. Which is good. New plants for somebody, or another version of that for me. I haven't made my mind up yet. Let's get the Kikis growing first. And that spike's getting silly now. Is there any sign of buds forming yet? Yeah, just about. That's the Brassica Chieftain Ludlows, and I've literally had to drop this one down so that the weight of the plant pulls downwards to allow that spike not to hit the roof. The whole plant itself will have to come down from up here soon, so that spike doesn't hit the roof. So the roof probably gets quite warm when the sun's on it, so it wouldn't do the buds any good. And yeah, that's about it for now, I think. And yeah, I mean, I've got very little to do out here, but at the moment my boiler has broken. So I've got a man coming to look at that in a minute. I'm pretty sure I know what the problem is. The combi boilers work on a pressurised system, and over time the pressure drops, slowly but surely, and then you have a little valve where you turn on your mains water into the system and repressurise it, and everything's fine again. Well, at the moment I've blown the pressure on that thing up as far as I dare without everything exploding, and the pressure gauge hasn't moved, so the gauge is faulty, or the little tiny pipe that lets the water go into the gauge so that it gets a reading is bunged up. So it's in that area somewhere, but at the moment I've got no boiler. Now I don't need the heating on, but that gets used for the hot water. Now I have got an electric immersion in the tank which I can turn on at great expense, but hopefully the guy will be here in a minute and he can have a look at that. And we'll see where we go from there. But apart from that, I've got very little, if anything, to do out here today. The mounts got watered quite late in the day, and the temperature dropped and it got cloudy. And today we have a cloudy, dull day with much, much lower temperatures than we've had recently. So I'm probably just going to leave the mounts today and not keep them soaking wet, because without the heat it's not so necessary for them to be constantly wet. So I might give them a rest for the day. I can see looking round that some of the ones with a reasonable bit of moss on are still wet now, so there'd be no point in pouring more water on them. So I think they can have a bit of a rest today, and me too. Right, let's get these plants back up where they came from, and find something else to do apart from patiently waiting for the man to come and look at the boiler. More expense. Never ends, does it? See you next time. Thanks for dropping by.